Tonight, headlines are screaming, a stunning reversal in a trade war that has defined an era. The world is watching as the story unfolds, with newsrooms buzzing and analysts scrambling to make sense of what just happened. This isn't just another policy change, it's a seismic shift, the kind that will be talked about for years to come. Images flash, cranes at ports, sparks in factories, assembly lines humming, America's economic engine in motion. These are the lifeblood of the nation's prosperity, the places where goods are made, shipped, and dreams are built. For decades, these scenes have symbolized growth and opportunity, the promise of a thriving economy. But for months, that engine sputtered, choked by tariffs and uncertainty. Production slowed, shipments stalled, and workers wondered what the future would hold. The gears of industry ground to a halt, leaving communities across the country anxious and uncertain. The very symbols of our strength became battlegrounds in a global economic conflict. Boardrooms turned tense, protests erupted, and the American flag flew over factories caught in the crossfire of international disputes. The promise was clear: protect American jobs, bring manufacturing home, and restore pride in the label "Made in USA." Politicians rallied crowds with pledges to put American workers first, fueling hope in towns that had seen better days. The reality, however, was far more complicated. Steep taxes on goods from allies and rivals alike, higher prices for consumers, and strained relationships with trading partners. The mantra was America first. But the costs rippled far beyond the borders. But tonight that message has changed. The headlines are different, the tone is shifting, and the world is taking notice. What once seemed set in stone is now being quietly rewritten. On the trading floor, chaos reigns, traders shout, numbers flash, billions shift on this sudden policy U-turn. The markets are reacting in real time, with fortunes made and lost in the blink of an eye. The uncertainty is palpable, and everyone is scrambling to adjust. The administration, once unyielding, is quietly dismantling its own tariff wall. Behind closed doors, officials sign documents that will reshape the landscape of global trade, removing barriers that once seemed immovable. Shockwaves ripple from steel mills in the heartland to the high-tech corridors of Silicon Valley. Every sector feels the impact, from heavy industry to cutting-edge innovation, as companies scramble to understand what this new era will mean for them. The reversal isn't a grand announcement, but a quiet admission in the fine print of government documents. Buried in official reports, the details reveal a dramatic shift in strategy, one that few saw coming, but everyone must now confront. Businesses, after years of scrambling to adapt, now face the ground shifting beneath their feet again. Strategies must be rewritten, supply chains reimagined, and owners wonder if stability will ever return. The uncertainty is both a challenge and an opportunity. The question looms large: why this reversal, and what does it reveal about America's true position in the world? Is this a sign of strength or a reluctant admission of changing realities on the global stage? Allies and rivals alike are watching, calculating their next moves. The story of the trade war is being rewritten again. Each chapter brings new twists as negotiators revisit old agreements and draft new ones, trying to find a balance between protection and progress. And the consequences are just beginning to unfold. The dominoes are falling, and the world waits to see where they will land, as America's great tariff reversal sends ripples through the global economy. The reversal came quietly. No speeches, no fanfare. There were no bold announcements, no dramatic press conferences. Instead, the change slipped in under the radar, almost as if the administration hoped no one would notice. But for those watching closely, the signs were unmistakable. The Trump administration issued exemptions, dropping tariffs on a critical list of goods. These weren't minor items. They were essential materials, the backbone of American manufacturing and industry. The documents reveal a calculated retreat. Key industrial components, especially advanced steel and aluminum, are back on the free list. These are not just any metals, they are the specialized alloys and high-grade materials that keep factories running and products moving. Why the change? The truth is simple yet stark. The US can't make everything it needs. Despite ambitions of self-reliance, the reality is that American industry depends on a complex web of global suppliers. American companies flooded officials with requests, arguing these materials weren't available domestically. The paperwork piled up, each letter a plea for relief, each request a reminder of the limits of domestic production. The tariffs hurt American manufacturers more than they helped. Instead of boosting local industry, they drove up costs, threatened jobs, and put entire sectors at risk of shutting down. Faced with crippling key industries, the administration blinked. The pressure was mounting and the stakes were too high to ignore. Behind closed doors, officials weighed the economic fallout and realized a course correction was unavoidable. The exempted goods, specialized steel, high-purity aluminum, are the lifeblood of modern industry. Without them, everything from cars to airplanes to defense equipment would be at risk. This is an admission. Supply chains are global, and severing them overnight is impossible. The world's economies are intertwined, and no nation, not even the US, can simply go it alone without consequences. The U-turn is a concession to economic reality. The numbers told a clear story. Production was slowing, costs were rising, and the pain was spreading far beyond the intended targets. The goal was to punish foreign competitors and boost US production, but the pain boomeranged back home. Instead of revitalizing American factories, the tariffs threatened to shut them down. Industry pressure, from automakers to defense contractors, became too great to ignore. Executives warned of layoffs, production delays, and lost contracts if the tariffs stayed in place. Without these imports, production lines would grind to a halt. Workers would be left idle, and the ripple effects would be felt across the entire economy. The reversal isn't just policy, it's an admission that total economic self-sufficiency is, for now, a fantasy. The dream of making everything at home is powerful, but the reality is far more complicated. The dream of going it alone has collided with the reality of a global economy. In the end, the world is too connected and the costs of isolation are simply too high to bear. Your car, an American icon, is actually a global product. Building a modern vehicle depends on a web of suppliers worldwide. The trade war exposed America's reliance on imports as its economic Achilles heel. Take graphite, essential for EV batteries, almost all processed in China. Nickel and cobalt, sourced from Russia, Indonesia, Congo. These aren't materials you can just mine in Ohio tomorrow. The tariffs meant to protect instead revealed how dependent US industry is on global supply. It's not just raw materials. Chips, plastics, textiles, alloys all come from abroad. Tariffs forced companies to pay more, scramble for new suppliers, or halt production. Dropping tariffs on key goods is a direct admission of this vulnerability. You can't win a trade war when your opponent supplies the ammunition. In trying to make America strong, the tariffs threaten to weaken its most vital industries. For automakers, the trade war has been a relentless storm of uncertainty, casting a shadow over an industry that thrives on stability and long-term planning. Every decision, from sourcing materials to launching new models, suddenly became a gamble. Tariffs on steel and aluminum drove up costs overnight. Ford and GM alone lost billions in a single year as the price of essential materials soared. These weren't just numbers on a balance sheet, they translated into real-world consequences for every link in the supply chain. The chaos wasn't just about higher prices, but about the unpredictability that made it nearly impossible to plan ahead. Executives faced tough choices, unsure which parts or suppliers would be hit next. Automakers typically plan years in advance, locking in global contracts to ensure stability and efficiency. This forward-thinking approach is the backbone of the industry. The trade war shattered that foundation, forcing companies to scramble, constantly revising strategies as they tried to predict which parts would be taxed next and how to keep production lines moving. Some automakers delayed launching new models, while others shifted production overseas. Ironically, the opposite of what the tariffs were meant to achieve. The uncertainty rippled through every department. Hundreds of exemption petitions flooded government offices, creating a mountain of bureaucracy that slowed decision-making and drained resources from innovation and growth. The struggle isn't just corporate, it hits workers on the assembly line, families in factory towns, and engineers trying to push the industry forward. Communities that depend on these jobs feel the impact most. Higher costs mean less investment in new technology, slower hiring, and for many, the heartbreak of layoffs and shuttered plants. The ripple effect is felt far beyond the factory floor. The dream of revitalized American manufacturing collided with the harsh reality of a global industry, where supply chains cross borders and decisions made in one country affect workers around the world. For Detroit, the heart of America's auto industry, the trade war felt less like a protective shield and more like a self-inflicted wound, deepening the challenges faced by a city already fighting to reinvent itself. In the end, the true cost of uncertainty is measured not just in lost profits, but in lost jobs, stalled progress, and the fading hopes of communities built on the promise of American manufacturing. What does all this mean for you? Higher costs at the dealership, tariffs on steel, aluminum, and parts have added hundreds, sometimes thousands to new car prices. It's a direct tax on American consumers, but it's not just about price, choice is shrinking. Supply chain chaos means fewer models, longer wait times, and missing features. Used car prices are up too, as more buyers turn to pre-owned vehicles. Transportation costs ripple through household budgets, squeezing families. The trade war's impact is felt at the kitchen table, not just in Washington. The quiet tariff reversal may help, but prices rarely fall as fast as they rise. For car buyers, the new normal is higher costs, fewer choices, and frustrating delays. The true cost of the trade war is measured in everyday financial strain. As the US debated tariffs, the world moved on. Major trading partners like Japan and the EU forged new free trade deals, building networks less dependent on America. This puts US businesses at a disadvantage, not from foreign cheating, but from our own policies. German cars now enter Japan more cheaply than American ones. Japanese farmers sell in Europe with fewer barriers. New trade blocs create stability and attract global investment, something the US now lacks. The trade war, meant to make America attractive, may be pushing investment elsewhere. Quiet tariff reversals don't erase the perception of the US as an unreliable partner. Other countries have diversified, learning not to depend on the American market. The world is moving on, and America risks losing its place at the center of global trade. Beyond the headlines, the trade war's human cost is real. Tariffs were supposed to protect and create jobs, but the reality is more complicated. Some sectors saw a brief boost, but many manufacturers faced higher costs and layoffs. A factory hit by tariffs loses contracts and the whole community suffers. Jobs, local businesses, schools. The ripple effects of a single closure can cripple a town. Uncertainty has been toxic for job growth. Businesses hesitate to invest or hire. The reversal may help some survive, but years of instability have left scars. For many workers, the trade war wasn't a revival. It was a painful lesson in unintended consequences. The promise of protectionism has collided with the reality of a global economy. Communities are left to pick up the pieces. So where do we go from here? The tariff reversal hasn't cleared the air. It's made things murkier. Will exemptions last or vanish overnight? No one knows. This fog of uncertainty makes it hard for anyone, businesses or consumers, to plan. Automakers and manufacturers are stuck in crisis mode, guessing what comes next. Big corporations can navigate the chaos, small businesses struggle. For consumers, buying a car is now a gamble, wait or buy now. The market is driven by policy whims, not supply and demand. The only certainty is more uncertainty ahead. This saga is about more than economics. It's about America's identity. For decades, we championed free trade, building a global system for shared prosperity. The trade war broke from that, betting on self-sufficiency and protectionism. The quiet reversal is a tacit admission. No country, not even the US, is an island. We're caught between two visions, global leader or fortress America. The reliance on imports and the pain of tariffs show how deeply we're woven into the world. The U-turn isn't just policy, it's a sign of a nation in flux. The confusion can't last forever. A choice must be made. Will we embrace our global reality or double down on going it alone? The debate is unfolding. In Washington, in factories, and in every community. What path should America take next?